My husband announced he was heading to Toronto for a 2-year work assignment. I bid him farewell through streaming tears. The instant I stepped back into our home, I moved every cent, $650,000, from our joint account. The following morning, I walked into the courthouse and filed for divorce. The terminal at O'Hare buzzed with hurried travelers. I clutched Mark's hand fiercely, tears cascading down my cheeks without restraint. "Mark, must you truly be away for 2 entire years?" I whispered, my voice thick with sorrow. Mark tenderly brushed my tears aside, his tone laced with hesitation. "Hannah, you know how crucial this project is for my career. 2 years will pass quickly. I'll video call you constantly." He paused. "But I'll miss you terribly." I pressed my face into his chest. He stroked my back gently. "Silly girl, I'll miss you too. This is a tremendous chance for our future. When I return, we'll finally have enough to make a down payment on a beautiful house in a wonderful neighborhood." The boarding call reverberated through the concourse. Mark pressed a lingering kiss to my forehead. "Wait for me." I remained rooted in place, watching his figure recede through security until tears blurred everything. Passengers rushed by, oblivious to the quietly sobbing woman tucked in the corner. I dabbed my eyes with a tissue, drew a steadying breath, and turned to leave the airport. In the Uber, I rested my head against the window, the familiar Chicago streets sliding past in a haze. The driver caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. "Seeing someone off?" I nodded silently. "You look heartbroken. Boyfriend? Husband?" "My husband," I murmured. He sighed. "Tough for young couples nowadays, being separated for work. But don't worry, a good man always returns." I offered a weak smile but said nothing more. Soon the car pulled up to our condo in Lincoln Park. I paid the fare and entered the home Mark and I had built together. The silent apartment echoed with my solitary footsteps. In the entryway, I stared at the pair of slippers he'd left by the door, and a sharp, bitter laugh slipped out. I slipped off my heels, padded barefoot into the living room, and collapsed onto the sofa. I retrieved my phone from my purse and opened the banking app. The joint account balance stared back, $650,482.17. This represented our entire savings, accumulated over 5 years of marriage. My salary had been deposited here monthly. Mark insisted it simplified our finances. I had never doubted it. I had trusted him completely. That trust had died 3 days earlier. That afternoon, I'd left work early to surprise him. Nearing our building, I spotted him emerging from a nearby cafe with another woman. Her arm was looped through his. They shared intimate laughter. I froze. He didn't notice me. He escorted her to the curb, flagged a cab, and before she stepped inside, bent to kiss her cheek. Hidden behind a massive oak, I felt my heart crushed in an iron grip, each breath a struggle. Once the cab vanished, Mark turned back toward our building. I didn't confront him. Instead, I circled the long way home. That evening, Mark arrived acting perfectly normal. "Hannah, sorry, late meeting at the office. Have you eaten?" He crossed to me and kissed my cheek lightly. I suppressed the instinct to pull away. "I already ate," I replied with a practiced smile, left a plate warming in the oven. "You're the best, babe," he grinned and headed to the kitchen. I watched his retreating form from the living room, suddenly seeing a total stranger. After dinner, he mentioned it casually, almost as an afterthought. "Oh, by the way, Hannah, the company has a major project in Toronto. They want me to lead it. I may need to stay 2 years." My hand shook, nearly spilling my water. 2 years? That's so long. "Yes, it's extended, but it's a rare opportunity. My boss promised that if I deliver, I'm guaranteed vice president upon return." His eyes lit with ambition. "What about me?" I asked quietly. He moved closer, encircling my shoulders. "You stay here and keep working. I'll send money for expenses every month. 2 years will fly. When I'm back, we'll be set for life." I leaned into him and shut my eyes, silent tears slipping down my face. In that instant, the truth crystallized. He wasn't leaving for any project. He was leaving for her. The assignment was a carefully constructed deception. The next day, I called in sick. I needed certainty. A college friend recommended a private investigator, Kevin Vance, a composed man in his late 30s. In a quiet coffee shop, he asked, "Miss Miller, how can I assist you?" I recounted everything, including the cafe scene. He nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Infidelity usually leaves a trail. Give me 1 week for a complete report." "Thank you." I rose to go. "Miss Miller," he called softly, "the truth can sting. Are you ready?" I offered a faint, resolute smile. However painful, I need to know. For the following days, I maintained the pretense. Work, home, cooking dinner, casual conversation. We appeared the same devoted pair, yet inside, my heart had turned to stone. Mark, meanwhile, threw himself into preparations, flights, packing, visa details, fully immersed in his impending new chapter, blind to my inner transformation. 1 week later, Kevin met me at the same cafe and slid a thick manila envelope across the table. "Miss Miller, your report." I inhaled deeply and opened it. A stack of photos and documents spilled out, each image sliced deeper than the last. Mark and the woman strolling hand in hand along Michigan Avenue. Mark and the woman checking in to the Thompson Hotel.
Her name is Claire Sutton. She's the new director of marketing at your husband's company. They've been involved for 3 months now. He paused, then continued. Your husband is going to Toronto, yes, but not for any work project. He and Miss Sutton are immigrating. He's already bought a condo there. The down payment came straight from your joint account. The room tilted. My vision swam. Are you all right? Shall I get you some water? Kevin asked, concern etching his face. I waved him off, forcing myself to steady and keep reading. The file contained screenshots of their messages. Claire, just a little longer. Once I've settled Hannah, we can finally be together openly. Mark, I'm waiting for you, darling. Besides, you've already moved most of the money from the joint account. She's just a woman. What can she do? That's true, Claire. Her entire salary has gone into that account for years. I've been investing it. She has almost no personal savings. After the divorce, she won't be able to do much of anything. So when are you going to tell her? No need, Claire. I'll go to Toronto first. In 6 months, I'll say I met someone else there and want a divorce. She won't make a scene. She'll look petty if she fights it, since I'm the one filing. Mark, you've thought of everything. So when do we start decorating our place in Toronto? As soon as I arrive. Don't worry, we're going to have a wonderful life. I closed the folder, shut my eyes, and drew a long, slow breath. 5 years of marriage. All of it a carefully orchestrated deception. Miss Miller, what do you intend to do? Kevin asked, sliding a glass of water toward me. I opened my eyes. My gaze had hardened. I'm going to transfer every single cent out of that joint account. Is that legal? It's a joint account. I have every right to access the funds, I said, a cold laugh escaping my lips. Besides, most of that money came from my salary. He thinks I'm some naive fool who'll sit here waiting while he runs off and dumps me. He's dreaming. Kevin nodded slowly. I understand. If you need a lawyer, I can recommend an excellent one. Thank you. I do. I left the coffee shop and went straight to the bank. The teller's eyes widened at the amount I requested. Ma'am, this is a very large sum. Are you certain you want to transfer the entire balance? Absolutely, to my personal account. Very well. Please enter your PIN. I typed the numbers and watched the screen confirm, transfer successful. A rush of relief flooded through me. $650,000. All mine now. Every dollar represented 5 years of my blood, sweat, and tears. When I returned home, Mark still wasn't back. I sank onto the sofa and let the last 5 years replay in my mind. We met through a mutual friend. I had just graduated and was working as a copywriter at a modest agency. Mark was 3 years older, already a project manager at a multinational firm, mature, steady, and effortlessly charming. He pursued me with flowers, gifts, and daily rides home from work. He said he fell for me the instant we met, that I was the kindest, most genuine woman he'd ever known. I was captivated and quickly said yes. A year later, we married in a warm, intimate ceremony. I believed I had found my forever. Our life together seemed content. Mark joined me for dinner every night. We went out on weekends. I thought that was what marriage looked like. But now the red flags glared. He always insisted my salary go into our joint account for better financial management. Yet I never once saw a statement. I had no idea where the money went. He frequently came home late, claiming overtime, but when I called, I heard bar music or restaurant chatter in the background. He showed little interest in my family, always dodging holiday visits to my parents with work excuses, yet he always found time for his own friends. I told myself he was just stressed. I told myself he was an introvert. I invented 1,000 excuses to keep the illusion alive. Looking back, I had been a fool. At 8 p.m., Mark walked through the door. "Hannah, I'm back." He kissed my cheek as always. I swallowed my revulsion and smiled. "You're back. Have you eaten?" "Yeah, team dinner at the office," he said, shrugging off his jacket. "By the way, I leave the day after tomorrow. Just need to tie up a few things at work." "So soon?" I asked, feigning surprise. "Yeah, the project's on a tight timeline." He sat beside me. "Hannah, while I'm gone these 2 years, take good care of yourself. Don't spend money carelessly, save where you can." I nearly laughed out loud. He was about to steal our entire savings and flee with another woman, yet he dared lecture me about frugality. "I will," I said quietly, eyes down. "You take care of yourself in Toronto, too." "Of course," he took my hand. "When I get back, we'll buy that big house we always dreamed of. Then we'll have a baby." A baby? His child with Claire? I simply smiled and said nothing. That night, we lay in the same bed as always, but sleep eluded me. The man beside me planned to take everything and leave with another woman, and I still had to keep up the act. The next day, I went to work as usual. During lunch, I called the lawyer Kevin had recommended. "Hello, Kevin Vance referred me. I need to discuss a divorce." "Of course, please tell me your situation." Her voice was calm and professional. I recounted everything. After listening carefully, the lawyer, Miss Davis, spoke. "From what you've described, your husband has committed adultery and attempted to conceal and transfer marital assets. Your decision to move the funds from the joint account to your personal account is legally valid. It's marital property, and you have every right to control the funds. So if I file for divorce now, what can I expect?"
People outside want to get in, and people inside want to get out. At 2 p.m., I sat in Ms. Davis's office. She was a poised woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and unflinchingly competent. She gestured to a chair and handed me a bottle of water. "Ms. Miller, I've gone through everything you sent. Your case has some complexities," she began. "First, with your husband now abroad, serving him the papers will require additional steps, likely international service." I nodded. "Second, we must investigate the overseas property he purchased with marital funds. That asset is divisible." I understand. How long might the whole process take? If everything proceeds smoothly, roughly 6 months. If he contests aggressively or delays, it could stretch longer. 6 months is fine. I can wait. Let's begin the proceedings now." "Very well." She slid a document across the desk. "This is the draft petition. Please read it carefully and let me know if anything needs adjustment." I scanned the pages. It laid out Mark's infidelity in precise detail, documented the unauthorized transfer of marital funds, and requested equitable division plus damages. It's accurate, no changes. I signed at the bottom. "We'll file this with the court tomorrow," Ms. Davis said. "One more thing. For now, keep the transfer of the joint account funds confidential. If he learns of it prematurely, he may attempt to counterclaim or hide additional assets. No one else knows except you and me." Leaving the firm, a quiet relief settled over me. The path ahead was long, but I had finally taken the decisive first step. Back home, I began boxing Mark's belongings, his clothes, books, framed photos, every trace of him. Each item that once symbolized our shared life now stirred only revulsion. I sealed the boxes and arranged shipment to his parents' address. Let them confront the man they raised. While taping the last carton, my phone rang. Mark. I steadied myself and answered. Hannah, I've landed in Toronto. His voice buzzed with enthusiasm. Oh, how was the flight? I kept my tone neutral. Smooth. The weather's beautiful, but jet lag is hitting hard. How was your day? Did you cry a lot after I left? I'm managing, I said. Get some rest, Hannah. I love you. A pause. Then, softly, me too. I ended the call and stared at the screen. A dry laugh escaped me. He loved the version of me who handed over everything without question. He never loved the woman I truly was. Over the next few days, I maintained my routine, work by day, purging his presence by night. Everything of his was packed and shipped. I rearranged the furniture, removed every joint photograph. The apartment gradually became mine alone. Without his shadow, the space felt lighter, freer. 5 days later, Ms. Davis called. Ms. Miller, the petition has been filed and accepted by the court. That was quick, I said, surprised. Your documentation was exceptionally thorough. The process moved smoothly. Next, the court will issue a summons for your husband. He'll have a set period to respond. If he doesn't, we can seek a default judgment. Understood. I exhaled slowly after hanging up. So far, everything was unfolding exactly as planned. That evening, Mark video called. The screen showed an unfamiliar room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing a glittering city skyline. Hannah, look, this is my place in Toronto. He panned the camera. Pretty nice, right? I studied the sleek, modern space and thought, this is the condo he bought with our money. It's beautiful, I replied evenly. Are you there alone? Yep. 1 bedroom the company set up for me. He smiled. It feels a bit empty, though. It'd be perfect if you were here. I nearly laughed out loud. He was surely sharing it with Claire, yet the performance continued. When you come back, we'll be together again, I said. Yeah, I miss you already. The call ended. I stared at the screen. A dry laugh escaped me. He loved the version of me who handed over everything without question. He never loved the woman I truly was. Over the next week, Kevin emailed a fresh report. Photos of Mark and Claire in Toronto, grocery shopping side by side, cooking in the condo kitchen, strolling hand in hand. They resembled newlyweds. One image showed them inside a real estate office. Kevin's note, they were viewing properties in Vancouver and discussing a mortgage under your husband's company name. I saved every file as additional evidence. When Ms. Davis reviewed them, she nodded decisively. These strengthen our positions significantly. We can now file a motion to freeze his assets and prevent further dissipation. Please proceed. Don't worry, Ms. Miller. I'll do everything possible to secure the best outcome for you. Men like your husband must face consequences for their actions. Yes, I agreed quietly. He must. 2 weeks later, Mark received the summons. That night, he called, voice shaking with fury. Hannah, have you lost your mind? Why the hell did you file for divorce? Because I know about you and Claire. My tone remained calm. Silence. Then panicked. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Stop pretending, Mark. A cold smile curved my lips. I know you're not in Toronto for any project. You're living with her. I know you used our money to buy that condo. I know you never intended to return. Hannah, listen, let me explain. No more explanations. I cut him off. The papers are filed. I'll see you in court. How dare you? You transferred the money from the joint account, didn't you? That's marital property. You had no right. The mask was finally gone. Most of that money came from my salary. What's wrong with me taking what's mine? And what about you? Using marital funds to buy property abroad, hiding assets? He fell silent. Hannah, you'll regret this, his voice low and threatening. You'll walk away with nothing. We'll see. I hung up. My hands shook afterward. I had braced for the confrontation, yet the raw venom still stung. In the days that followed, Mark bombarded me with calls and messages, pleading one moment, threatening the next. I ignored them all. My focus narrowed to work and the lawsuit. Ms. Davis proved exceptional. She organized every piece of evidence, proof of the affair, records of the asset transfer, 5 years of my pay stubs and deposit history. Ms. Miller, your case is exceptional. Miss Davis's words laid out a clear path. First, you can pursue a claim for damages due to intentional infliction of emotional distress, since he is the at-fault party. Second, on asset division, if you can demonstrate that the bulk of the funds in the joint account originated from your salary, you have a strong argument for a disproportionate share. Additionally, because marital funds were used to purchase property abroad, that condo in Toronto is also marital property subject to equitable division. Her calm, methodical analysis steadied me. "What documents will I need to prepare?" I asked. "Start with your marriage certificate, both social security numbers, proof of his infidelity, a detailed list of all marital assets and debts, recent bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns, and any records showing contributions to the joint account. Gather what you can, and we'll schedule a thorough meeting to review everything." After we hung up, I began collecting the pieces. The marriage certificate and social security cards were tucked in the home drawer. Kevin had already provided a comprehensive dossier on the affair: photos, messages, hotel records. Bank statements I could download and print from the app. Within an hour, the folder was complete. On my drive home from work, my phone rang. "Mom." "Hannah, I heard Mark is heading to Toronto for work?" "Yes, Mom, the company assigned him." My voice stayed even. "What about you? Will you be all right alone?" Worry colored every word. "I'll manage, Mom. I'm not a child anymore." "But 2 years is so long. Maybe you should go with him." "My job is here, Mom. I can't just walk away. And he's going for a project, not to relocate permanently. There's no reason for me to follow." She sighed. "I suppose you're right. Just promise you'll look after yourself. Call me any time, day or night." "I promise." I ended the call and let a bitter smile surface. I couldn't bear to imagine her face if she learned the truth, that her daughter was days away from divorce. Yet I felt no regret. Better to sever a hollow marriage than linger in its slow poison. When I stepped inside, Mark was packing, a large suitcase already brimmed with neatly folded clothes and essentials. "Hannah, take a look. Did I forget anything?" he asked, glancing up. I peered in. "Looks complete." "Perfect." He zipped it shut. "I leave tomorrow. Let's have a nice dinner tonight. A little farewell." "Okay." I manufactured a smile. We chose the upscale downtown restaurant where we'd had our first date and every anniversary since. Mark ordered red wine, steaks, and my favorite tiramisu. "Hannah, these 2 years will be hard on you," he said, lifting his glass. "When I return, I swear I'll make it all up to you." I clinked my glass to his. "I'll be waiting." The wine tasted bittersweet, like our marriage itself. Sweet veneer, bitter core. "Oh, and after I'm gone," he added casually, "if you need money for anything, just pull from the joint account. I left plenty in there for you." I nearly laughed aloud. The account held almost nothing now, yet he had the audacity to claim he'd left me plenty. "Okay," I replied, focusing on slicing my steak. "Hannah," Mark suddenly caught my hand, "I know you'll feel lonely, but please wait for me. Our bond is too strong. We'll get through this." I met his gaze. Those eyes brimmed with practiced sincerity. Without the evidence, I might have believed every word. "I'll wait," I said softly. We returned late. The wine had loosened his tongue. The entire cab ride he spoke of our future: bigger house, Maldives honeymoon, a baby, each promise dripping with irony. He would keep every one of them, no doubt, but with Claire. I had merely been the bridge to his real life. The next morning I accompanied him to the airport. I applied extra makeup, dark eyeshadow to sell the tears. Mark wheeled his suitcase. I clung to his arm. To every passerby, we looked like the perfect grieving couple. "Hannah, don't cry. 2 years will fly by," he murmured, thumbing away my tears. "I know. I just hate watching you leave." My sobs sounded genuine. "Silly girl." He pulled me close. "Take care of yourself. I'll call every day." I pressed my face to his chest, soaking his shirt. Boarding time arrived. One final, lingering kiss. Wait for me. I will, I answered with a small, tremulous smile. I stood motionless as he passed through security, his silhouette shrinking until it vanished entirely. Around me, other farewells unfolded. Tears, laughter, embraces. No one suspected the true thoughts behind the most devastated-looking woman in the crowd. I wiped my face, turned, and left the terminal. In the cab, I checked my phone. 10 a.m. The courthouse was open, but I felt no rush. I asked the driver to take me home. There, I showered at length, scrubbing away the makeup and the performance. I chose a simple navy dress, quiet, dignified. At the vanity, I studied my reflection. The trusting girl of 5 years ago had vanished. In her place stood a woman with clear, resolute eyes. I texted Kevin, "Monitor Mark's movements once he lands in Toronto." His reply came instantly, "Understood." Then to Miss Davis, "I'll be at your office at 2 p.m. today." "Perfect. See you then." I gathered my purse, marriage certificate, ID, bank cards, Kevin's full report. At 11 a.m. I stepped out. The courthouse was a 20-minute walk. I chose to walk, letting each step mark the close of one chapter. The streets hummed with ordinary life. No one glanced twice at the woman heading to dissolve a 5-year marriage. Inside the courthouse lobby, I approached the information desk. "Excuse me, I'd like to file for divorce." The clerk looked up. "Contested or uncontested?" "Contested, I believe." "Then you'll need to file a people outside want to get in, and people inside want to get out." At 2 p.m., I sat in Ms. Davis's office. She was a poised woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and unflinchingly competent. She gestured to a chair and handed me a bottle of water. "Ms. Miller, I've gone through everything you sent. Your case has some complexities," she began. "First, with your husband now abroad, serving him the papers will require additional steps, likely international service." I nodded. "Second, we must investigate the overseas property he purchased with marital funds. That asset is divisible." "I understand. How long might the whole process take?" "If everything proceeds smoothly, roughly 6 months. If he contests aggressively or delays, it could stretch longer." 6 months is fine. I can wait. "Let's begin the proceedings now." "Very well." She slid a document across the desk. "This is the draft petition. Please read it carefully and let me know if anything needs adjustment." I scanned the pages. It laid out Mark's infidelity in precise detail, documented the unauthorized transfer of marital funds, and requested equitable division plus damages. It's accurate, no changes. I signed at the bottom. "We'll file this with the court tomorrow," Ms. Davis said. "One more thing. For now, keep the transfer of the joint account funds confidential. If he learns of it prematurely, he may attempt to counterclaim or hide additional assets. No one else knows except you and me." Leaving the firm, a quiet relief settled over me. The path ahead was long, but I had finally taken the decisive first step. Back home, I began boxing Mark's belongings, his clothes, books, framed photos, every trace of him. Each item that once symbolized our shared life now stirred only revulsion. I sealed the boxes and arranged shipment to his parents' address. Let them confront the man they raised. While taping the last carton, my phone rang. Mark. I steadied myself and answered. "Hannah, I've landed in Toronto." His voice buzzed with enthusiasm. "Oh, how was the flight?" I kept my tone neutral. "Smooth. The weather's beautiful, but jet lag is hitting hard." "How was your day? Did you cry a lot after I left?" "I'm managing," I said. "Get some rest, Hannah. I love you." A pause. Then, softly, "Me too." I ended the call and stared at the screen. A dry laugh escaped me. He loved the version of me who handed over everything without question. He never loved the woman I truly was. Over the next few days, I maintained my routine. Work by day, purging his presence by night. Everything of his was packed and shipped. I rearranged the furniture, removed every joint photograph. The apartment gradually became mine alone. Without his shadow, the space felt lighter, freer. 5 days later, Ms. Davis called. "Ms. Miller, The petition has been filed and accepted by the court. That was quick, I said, surprised. Your documentation was exceptionally thorough. The process moved smoothly. Next, the court will issue a summons for your husband. He'll have a set period to respond. If he doesn't, we can seek a default judgment. Understood. I exhaled slowly after hanging up. So far, everything was unfolding exactly as planned. That evening, Mark video called. The screen showed an unfamiliar room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing a glittering city skyline. Hannah, look, this is my place in Toronto. He panned the camera. Pretty nice, right? I studied the sleek, modern space and thought, this is the condo he bought with our money. It's beautiful, I replied evenly. Are you there alone? Yep. One bedroom the company set up for me. He smiled. It feels a bit empty, though. It'd be perfect if you were here. I nearly laughed out loud. He was surely sharing it with Claire, yet the performance continued. When you come back, we'll be together again, I said. Yeah, I miss you already. The call ended. I stared at the screen. A dry laugh escaped me. He loved the version of me who handed over everything without question. He never loved the woman I truly was. Over the next week, Kevin emailed a fresh report. Photos of Mark and Claire in Toronto, grocery shopping side by side, cooking in the condo kitchen, strolling hand in hand. They resembled newlyweds. One image showed them inside a real estate office. Kevin's note, they were viewing properties in Vancouver and discussing a mortgage under your husband's company name. I saved every file as additional evidence. When Ms. Davis reviewed them, she nodded decisively. These strengthen our positions significantly. We can now file a motion to freeze his assets and prevent further dissipation. Please proceed. Don't worry, Ms. Miller. I'll do everything possible to secure the best outcome for you. Men like your husband must face consequences for their actions. Yes, I agreed quietly. He must. 2 weeks later, Mark received the summons. That night, he called, voice shaking with fury. Hannah, have you lost your mind? Why the hell did you file for divorce? Because I know about you and Claire. My tone remained calm. Silence. Then panicked. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Stop pretending, Mark. A cold smile curved my lips. I know you're not in Toronto for any project. You're living with her. I know you used our money to buy that condo. I know you never intended to return. Hannah, listen, let me explain. No more explanations. I cut him off. The papers are filed. I'll see you in court. How dare you? You transferred the money from the joint account, didn't you? That's marital property. You had no right. The mask was finally gone. Most of that money came from my salary. What's wrong with me taking what's mine? And what about you? Using marital funds to buy property abroad, hiding assets? He fell silent. Hannah, you'll regret this, his voice low and threatening. You'll walk away with nothing. We'll see. I hung up. My hands shook afterward. I had braced for the confrontation, yet the raw venom still stung. In the days that followed, Mark bombarded me with calls and messages, pleading one moment, threatening the next. I ignored them all. My focus narrowed to work and the lawsuit. Ms. Davis proved exceptional. She organized every piece of evidence, proof of the affair, records of the asset transfer, 5 years of my pay stubs and deposit history. Ms. Miller, your case is exceptional. 5 years of marriage had ended. I had braced myself for devastation, yet in that moment, all I experienced was a deep, unshakable release. That evening, I met a few close friends for dinner. Hannah, congratulations on your freedom, Sarah toasted, raising her glass with a grin. I clinked mine against theirs. Thank you all for standing by me through everything. That scumbag got exactly what he deserved, Emily added, her voice sharp with anger. After all you sacrificed for him, he betrayed you like that. Let the past stay in the past, I said gently, smiling. From now on, I'm living for myself. No more time wasted on people who don't deserve it. Exactly, Sarah agreed. To Hannah's new beginning. We clinked glasses again and drank deeply. Life after the divorce surprised me. I had expected endless nights of tears and loneliness. Instead, I felt unburdened. No more waiting up for Mark, no more tiptoeing around his moods, no more surrendering my entire paycheck without question. I reshaped my world. First, I redecorated the condo completely. New furniture, fresh paint on every wall, every reminder of him removed. The space felt bright and entirely mine, mirroring the renewal inside me. I enrolled in yoga classes after work. The practice soothed both body and mind. I taught myself to cook dishes from around the world: Thai curries, Italian risottos, Moroccan tagines, foods Mark would never have touched. Now the kitchen belonged to my tastes alone. I began traveling too. I packed light and visited cities and coastlines I had always dreamed of seeing. I met strangers who became brief friends, listened to their stories, and discovered how vast life truly is, far bigger than one broken marriage. 6 months later, Mark's mother appeared at my door. "Hannah, please, can you find it in your heart to forgive Mark?" she asked, clutching my hand, eyes brimming. "He knows he was wrong." I eased my hand free. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Evans. I can't." "But 5 years of marriage, such a deep bond. How can you throw it away?" "A relationship cannot survive on one person's effort alone," I replied evenly. "Mark cheated. That's undeniable. I cannot forgive it." "He was just confused. That woman seduced him. He's ended things with her. He wants to come back to you." A cold laugh escaped me. "He ended it because the court ordered him to pay me and now he's broke?" Her face paled. "I know you're hurting for your son, but please understand my side. Mark and I are divorced. There is no going back. Please don't come here again." I turned and walked away. Behind me, her sobs echoed, but I didn't look back. I knew I appeared harsh, yet I carried no regret. I had once given him every chance. He was the one who discarded it. A few months later, I met Ben Carter at work, the new marketing manager, a few years my senior, calm, reliable, and quietly charming. We collaborated on a project, and his kindness was steady and genuine. One evening, he asked me to dinner. "Hannah, I heard you're divorced," he said directly. I nodded, a little startled by his candor. "Yes." "Are you seeing anyone?" "No." "Then, may I have the chance to take you out?" His gaze was earnest. "I know it might feel too soon, but I admire you, your independence, your strength, your warmth. I want to care for you, protect you, build something real together." I looked into his sincere eyes and felt a faint warmth stir. Still, I shook my head. "I'm sorry, Ben. I'm not ready for a relationship right now." "I understand," he said softly. "Then I'll wait. However long it takes, I'll wait." That night I sat on my balcony under the stars. Perhaps one day I would open my heart again. For now, I was content simply learning to love myself. A year later, the court judgment was fully enforced. Mark paid the damages and transferred the cash equivalent of his share of the Toronto property. Combined with the $650,000 I had secured, my savings approached $1 million, more than enough for security and freedom. I used part of it to open a small coffee shop on the ground floor of my building. It was modest, warm, filled with the scent of fresh brews and pastries. Mornings I greeted customers and poured coffee. Afternoons I sat by the window with a book, sunlight warming my face. Life had grown quiet, simple, and beautiful. One day, Sarah stopped by. "Hannah, you look truly happy," she observed. "Do I?" I smiled. "I feel it. Do you ever regret it?" I considered the question. No. That marriage brought pain, but it also forced me to grow. I learned to protect myself, to stop trusting blindly, and above all, to value myself. "Will you believe in love again?" I glanced at the golden light spilling across the tables. "Yes." I stared at the phone as Officer Chin's words kept coming, detached, procedural, like reading from a report. Mark's letter, the fraud, the illegal funds tainting the Toronto property, the blunt admission that he never loved me, that the marriage was calculated, a means to an end. My hand trembled, but strangely, no wave of shock or grief crashed over me. Instead, a quiet, almost clinical clarity settled in. "Miss Miller, are you still there?" "Yes," I said, voice steady. "Thank you for informing me. Please send any official documents or contact information to my email. I'll have my attorney handle it from here." "Of course, we'll forward everything. I'm sorry to deliver this news." The line went dead. Another call was waiting. Ben. I let it ring twice, then answered. "Hey, you okay? You sound Off. His voice was warm, concerned, the way it always was when he sensed something. I just got a call from the Toronto police, I told him plainly. Mark's been arrested. Investment fraud, embezzlement, a Ponzi scheme. Millions. And apparently, some of the money he used to buy that condo came from those funds. They're seizing assets, which might include the portion awarded to me in the divorce. Silence for a beat. Then softly, Jesus. Hannah, are you all right? I exhaled a small, dry laugh. I'm fine, honestly. It's almost fitting. The whole marriage was built on lies and stolen money. Why wouldn't the ending be the same? Do you want me to come over right now? No, I'm at the shop closing up. I just need a minute to process, but thank you. Call me when you're home, okay? Or if you change your mind and want company. I can be there in 20. I will, promise. We said goodnight. I locked the register, flipped the sign to closed, and turned off the lights one by one. The street outside glowed softly under the lamps. The city moved on, indifferent. I walked upstairs to my condo, poured a glass of red wine, and sat on the balcony. The lights of Chicago glittered below like scattered stars. I replayed the officer's words, Mark's supposed letter, the cold finality of, "He never loved you." 3 years ago, those words would have shattered me. Tonight, they landed like pebbles on water, ripples, then nothing. Because the truth was, I already knew. I'd known the moment I saw those photos in the coffee shop with Kevin. I'd known when I emptied the joint account. I'd known every time I smiled through his lies at the airport, every time I pretended on video calls. He never loved me, and I no longer needed him to. I opened my laptop and emailed Miss Davis a brief summary of the call, attaching the officer's contact details. She'd know exactly what steps to take, whether any of the seized assets could still be claimed, whether the divorce judgment needed revisiting, how to protect what was rightfully mine. Then I texted Ben. Home safe, feeling strangely calm. Talk tomorrow? His reply came almost instantly. Whenever you're ready. Sleep well. I'm proud of you. I smiled at the screen, finished my wine, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke early, as always. Yoga on the mat by the window, sunlight warming my skin. A simple breakfast, avocado toast, fresh berries, coffee from my own shop's beans. At 9, I opened downstairs, greeted the regulars by name, steamed milk, pulled espresso shots, listened to their small stories of the day. Life continued. Quiet, steady, mine. A few weeks later, Miss Davis called. I hesitated for a second. I understand, I told Officer Chen, then ended the call. My thumb hovered over Ben's name on the screen, ready to answer, when the coffee shop door flew open with a violent jangle. A tall, agitated man stormed in, eyes locked on me. Hannah Miller? I'm one of Mark Evans's creditors. You're paying back his debt, starting now. The handful of late afternoon customers froze mid-sip. I forced my breathing to stay even. Sir, please lower your voice, I said, stepping out from behind the counter. Mark and I have been divorced for over 2 years. His debts are not my responsibility. Not your responsibility? He barked a harsh laugh. You were his wife. Marital debt doesn't just disappear because you signed some papers. He owes me $5 million. You're on the hook. I'll need to see a promissory note, I replied, keeping my tone level, dated during our marriage, and proof, clear proof, that the funds were used for joint household expenses or family benefit. Without that, I have no legal obligation. His sneer faltered. He obviously hadn't expected pushback, let alone specifics. Before he could recover, the door opened again. Ben strode in, face tight with worry. He must have called twice when I didn't pick up. He positioned himself between me and the man without hesitation. Hannah, you okay? His voice was calm, but his stance said otherwise. I'm fine, I murmured. The creditor sized Ben up.
"And who the hell are you?" "Her boyfriend," Ben answered evenly. "Whatever this is about, we can discuss it like adults. If you keep intimidating her or any customer here, I'll call the police right now." The man glanced around at the silent, staring patrons, then back at us. His bravado cracked. "Fine," he spat. "We'll see you in court." He shoved the door open and disappeared into the street. Ben locked it behind him, flipped the open sign to closed, then turned and pulled me into his arms. "You must have been terrified," he whispered against my hair. I let myself lean into him, the adrenaline finally crashing. "I was, but I'm so glad you're here." "Silly girl." He rubbed slow circles on my back. "I told you, I've got you." I told him about the earlier call from Toronto, the arrest, the Ponzi scheme, the letter Mark supposedly left behind claiming he never loved me, that the marriage had been calculated from the start. Ben's jaw tightened. That bastard. What else was he hiding? "I don't know," I admitted. "I thought the divorce cut every tie. I never imagined his mess would keep following me." "We'll handle it," he said firmly. "Tomorrow, we go straight to Miss Davis. You're divorced, assets divided. His crimes and whatever debts he racked up in Canada have nothing to do with you." I nodded, but a cold knot of unease stayed lodged in my chest. That night, sleep refused to come. Mark's alleged words looped in my head. He never loved you, that he married you solely for what? My salary deposits? My blind trust? Or something darker I still hadn't uncovered? For the first time, I allowed myself to wonder if I had ever truly known the man I married. The next morning, Ben drove me to Miss Davis's office. She listened without interruption, then exhaled slowly. "Miss Miller, breathe. You're in a strong position." Ben's vows were quiet, spoken only for me, but they carried the weight of everything we had survived. "I promise to love you on the days when you feel unbreakable, and especially on the days when you don't. I promise to hold your hand without ever trying to hold you back. I promise that your freedom will always be my favorite thing about you. And I promise, Hannah, that for the rest of my life, you will never have to wonder if you are truly, deeply loved, because you will wake up every single morning knowing it, the way you know the sun will rise." I was crying before he finished. When it was my turn, I didn't need notes. "Ben, you taught me that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. You showed me that safety can feel like warmth instead of a cage. I spent years believing I had to shrink to be loved. You gave me room to grow, and then you grew with me. I'm not standing here as someone who was saved. I'm standing here as someone who learned how to save herself, and then chose to share her life with the one man who never once asked her to be less. I love you. Today, tomorrow, every day after. I'm yours, not because I need you, but because I want you. Completely, freely, forever." We kissed while our families cheered, and the wind off Lake Michigan whipped my veil around us like it was trying to join the celebration. That night, in our little reception under string lights and laughter, Sarah pulled me aside, eyes shining. "Hannah, look at you. You're not just surviving anymore, you're glowing." I looked across the room at Ben, laughing with my mom, at Chloe and Maria sneaking extra cake, at friends who had held me when I was broken, now dancing because I was whole. I smiled, the kind that starts in your chest and takes over your whole face. "I'm not just glowing, Sarah. I'm finally, truly, undeniably happy. And for the first time in my life, I believed happiness wasn't something I had to chase, earn, or protect with clenched fists. It was simply mine. Because I had become the kind of woman who would never again let anyone take it from her. And the man holding my hand for the rest of the night,
He was the living proof that when you learn to love yourself fiercely, the universe sends you someone who loves you just as fiercely, without ever making you choose between him and you. I chose both, and that has made all the difference. I looked at him, my heart swelling with a quiet, certain love. This time I had chosen right. Married life with Ben is gentle and steady, the kind of happiness that doesn't shout but simply arrives every morning like sunlight through the curtains. He notices when my shoulders are tight from a long day behind the counter and wordlessly starts a shoulder massage while I sit with my feet up. When I'm swamped with orders, he slips into the kitchen and emerges with dinner already plated. Nothing extravagant, just warm, thoughtful food that says, I see you, I've got you. And when the weight of old memories creeps in on quiet evenings, he makes me laugh until my sides ache, reminding me that joy isn't something I have to earn. He never once suggested I close the coffee shop or scale back my dreams to become a full-time homemaker. Instead, he shows up on busy weekends to wipe tables, froth milk, chat with regulars. We run the place side by side, planning new menu items, dreaming about maybe opening a second location someday. Our future isn't something he decides for me, it's something we build together. This spring, the two pink lines appeared. Excitement and terror arrived at the same moment. I was thrilled to finally carry a child conceived in real love, yet terrified I might not know how to be the mother she deserved. Ben was over the moon. He walked with me every evening to keep my legs from swelling, researched the most nutrient-dense recipes, and stacked parenting books on the nightstand like they were sacred texts. "Who do you think she'll look like?" he'd ask, hand resting on my growing belly. "Definitely you. Handsome and kind," I tease. "I hope she's a girl," he'd say softly. "Beautiful like her mama, with your smile and your strength." We spent those months dreaming aloud, names, nursery colors, first holidays as a family of three. The pregnancy was exhausting at times, but every ache felt purposeful. This child was proof that love could create something beautiful instead of destroy. In my 5th month, a letter arrived from Mark's mother. Her handwriting was careful, almost fragile. She apologized for not raising a better son, for the pain her family had caused me, for every time she had pressured me to forgive. She wrote that Mark was behaving well in prison, attending programs, trying to atone. Most surprisingly, she said he had asked her to tell me he genuinely wished me happiness, no strings attached. I read it twice, waiting for anger or bitterness to rise. Neither came. Instead, I felt pity, not for him, but for her, a mother who loved her child and never imagined he would become the man he did. She was grieving too. I wrote back. I told her I held no grudge against her. I was happy now, truly, deeply happy, and she should release any guilt she carried. I said everyone makes terrible mistakes. What matters is whether we learn from them. I hoped Mark would use his time inside to rebuild himself into someone better, someone who could one day look in the mirror without shame. When I sealed the envelope, a long-held breath left my body. I had finally let the last thread of the past go. I had forgiven Mark, not for his sake, but for mine. And more importantly, I had forgiven the younger version of myself who once believed his lies. Last fall, our daughter arrived. We named her Clara, after the quiet strength I wanted her to carry. Holding her for the first time, tiny fingers wrapped around mine, I looked down and saw not just a baby, but a promise. I would raise her differently. She would grow up knowing her worth is never negotiable, that kindness is beautiful but never a weakness, that love should lift her higher instead of clipping her wings. I will tell her my story one day, not to scare her, but to arm her. I'll teach her that a woman can be gentle and fierce, trusting and discerning, loving and self-protecting. Most of all, I'll show her, every single day, that the first person she must love, respect, and fight for is herself. Even with the newborn, I haven't stepped away from the coffee shop, then insisted we could make it work, and we have. Mornings, I care for Clara. Feedings, cuddles, tiny baths. When she naps, I head downstairs to help with the rush. Afternoons, we take her to the park in her stroller. Evenings are ours. Dinner as a family, stories, laughter, quiet talks about nothing and everything. This life, simple, full, mine, is more than I ever dared hope for. Last month, we hosted an event at the shop, Stories of Rebirth. I invited women who had walked similar paths, some freshly divorced and still raw, some still trapped and afraid to leave, some already on the other side and thriving. We sat in a circle with coffee and tea, no judgment, just listening. When my turn came, I spoke without notes. I know how heavy the fear feels, I told them. I stood at that airport 5 years ago crying like my world was ending, convinced I'd never be whole again. I was wrong. The pain was real, but it was temporary. Leaving wasn't failure, it was rebirth. Being alone is scary until you realize it's safer than staying where you're not loved. And alone doesn't mean lonely forever. You can build a life full of sins, purpose, passion, and yes, love again, with someone who sees you as a partner, not a possession. I'm happier now than I ever imagined possible, not because the pain disappeared, but because I refused to let it define me. A young woman near tears asked, "Are you really happy?" I glanced toward the door. Ben was standing there, holding Clara, and both of them watching me with the same soft pride. "Very," I said, smiling so wide it hurt. Afterward, women hugged me, thanked me, said my words had cracked open a door they thought was locked forever. Some cried, some laughed, all of them left a little lighter. I felt full, not just as a wife, mother, and business owner, but as someone whose scars had become light.